Okay, we're ready to go. Show of hands. How many of you are on Mavericks? How many of you are not on Mavericks yet? Okay. Yes.
How many of you made your wife's or husband's computer the guinea pig for Mavericks?
Mavericks is breaking Apple's tradition now since I think the last time we had a non-paid major OS upgrade was back in System 8 days or System 9. Yeah, I think it was 10.1.
10.1 was free because well,
Okay, well, all right.
the 10.1 was free upgrade from 10, but paid upgrade.
Well, that's what I mean. But this is the first one where you didn't have to have the previous version. You can just download it for free and install it. And I don't know if that's because Apple just felt this version didn't have a ton of stuff in it that was worth charging for, or Apple just feels like they have billions and billions of dollars and doesn't really need the revenue from the operating system anymore. Whether that's the case or not, the point is Mavericks is a free update. You can just go to the App Store. It doesn't require that you be on Mountain Lion before, which was the one before it. You can just download it and install it. Now, of course, you do still need to meet the minimum system requirements for whatever Mavericks would be, but you don't have to pay to get this particular update. Now, with all operating systems, it's very rare that you would find a major, gigantic new change, especially when it's a dot upgrade. So we went from 10.8 to 10.9. Now, they're running out of numbers, so at some point they're going to hit 11. And I would expect 11 to be much more substantial, whenever that happens to be. Whether they do a 10.10 or they jump to 11, who knows. But for now, what we have is an update that's a decent update with a lot of little things in it that I look at as either improvements or thank God they changed the behavior in this one thing to work the way that it works now. To be honest, I installed Mavericks. Actually, I was out on the road. I broke my demo tradition, never install an upgrade while I'm out on tour or out presenting. But I didn't see any major hang-ups. I didn't see any major complaints about things not working. So I did it actually an hour before presentation. But keep in mind, why would I ever take that chance? Because I had a drive in my hand that I could just boot from if I ever needed to. So it really wasn't that big of a chance, unless it was going to screw up the hardware. But I took the chance, installed it, been running on it ever since. No hiccups, no major issues. The only big software incompatibility I had right off the bat, and I didn't even know I had it until I went to go use it, was I still use Snaps Pro for my still screen captures. And that wasn't compatible on day one, and then they came out with an update. So that was pretty much the only thing I ran into that I absolutely could not run once I ran Mavericks. Now here's the other side of that coin. I've been on it pretty much since the first week's day one, maybe a couple days after it came out. And to be honest, there isn't anything in it that I am like gaga over or jumping up and down it for joy over. Yes, there are lots of little things that, oh, that's nice, that's a nice little tweak. But no major one thing that made me say, God, I'm glad I upgraded to Mavericks to get that. So, with that said, I'm going to go over, I have several Maverick tips and little hidden things that I'll go over to kind of show you what's there. The good part about this is if you were on 10.8, 10.7, 10.6, there's really not a big learning curve because, again, not that much is visually changed from the way you operate the computer. So with that, one major thing that I do like, if we go into the system preferences and we go into the App Store, Apple started this with iOS 7 and now they've taken it to the Mac as well, where your system updates can be, system update too. Your app updates can automatically be installed. Now, you can turn on various flavors of this or turn it off completely if you don't want anything updated automatically. So you can say, do everything. Just download the newly available updates, but I'll install them when I'm ready. So you can say uncheck install or uncheck install for system and security updates. So you can pick and choose which things get automatically installed or nothing gets automatically installed. It's up to you. But I rarely don't do the update, so for me that's a benefit that I don't have to think about it now. I wake up and wake up my computer and it tells me, hey, there was 3 updates installed while it was sleeping, because it can do it while it's sleeping as well. Well, it can do it in the background. So.
Will it bypass the administrator?
Will it bypass the administrator? I don't know that I've had a system update that would normally require a password update automatically yet. Has anyone had that? This question is, if normally if there's an update that requires a password, what happens when it's an automatic update? Does it just do it?
Automatic system updates if you're not the administrator.
No, if you are.
You're the administrator, it should just work.
Okay. So if you're the administrator, it just does it. It doesn't ask you for the password or stop it from happening. So that's the first little thing. Not a major thing, but nice. And I like it, especially on iOS 7, because it just does my updates now for all my apps. Next one. While we're on that same topic, let's actually go to the App Store.
When you had that checked, isn't the first one redundant to the second one?
I'd have to go back and look at it again. App Store. Automatically check for updates.
No, download newly available versus install app updates.
Well, download means download it. Install means install it. So they're 2 separate things. Download it means I don't want to have to do it in real time when I click update. It'll already be sitting there. But if I uncheck this one, it says it'll sit there until I say install it. But it will have already downloaded. So no, they're not redundant. Right. Any other questions on this before I move off of it? Great. Okay, the other thing in the updates now, I kept this one from updating on purpose, but if we go and look at there's a little drop-down menu now where you can say install now, try in an hour, try tonight, remind me tomorrow. So you can not have it do it right this second in the middle of a presentation, for example, which is when I tend to get these notices. You can say try again in an hour, or when I'm not on an internet connection or whatever, try again later, or slower connection. So those are pretty cool that those can happen now that way. Next. So the other things that you'll notice about Mavericks as opposed to previous versions of Mac OS is, and I talked about this, I believe, starting with Lion, that more and more of the 2 operating systems are merging. You'll see more iOS features in Mac OS and more Mac OS features in iOS. So 2 things came over in this version from iOS, one of which is Ibooks. So now Ibooks is an application installed automatically on your Mac for the first time. So that means that in the past, if you wanted to enjoy an iBook, you had to do it on a mobile device. You had to do it on an iPad, you had to do it on an iPhone, an iPod Touch, whatever. Now you can enjoy those same books on your Mac as well. So I'm going to sign in. And because I'm signing in with the same ID I've used to purchase books before, I can say it'll start downloading the books I've already purchased, or giving me the option to. And if I choose to download this book, it will. I don't know, some couple of guys that had nothing better to do on a weekend. And depending on the speed of your internet connection, that could take a moment. But you have the ability to also go off and buy books. So if you go to the iBook store, you can now do that on your Mac as well. Well, it brought in one of my PDF files from my phone, so I would assume you can. Now also, here's the other thing that's nice about the iBooks app, now that it's on the Mac as well as on your iOS devices, is even on your iOS devices before this existed, it would keep track of where you left off in a book. So if you were reading a book on your iPad, and then you, for whatever reason, open it up on your phone, it would remember what page you were on and take you right back to that page. Turn a few pages on the phone, go back to the iPad, it would know where you left off. So now that's going to be the same case here. And because you can make annotations in the book itself, like highlight passages or highlight text or add notes, that also gets synced as well between all your different devices. Go ahead.
Magazines that you could read on your iPad, they fall into the category of iBooks?
No. Magazines are different. Magazines are in the newsstand, and newsstand is not on the Mac yet. Got to save something for 10 point, whatever the next one is, or 11.
Wondering about the iBook. You have it on your devices. You want to use it
No, and that's a good question for iOS in general, and one I've asked for years. His question was, is there a such thing as user one, user two, so that different people can be using the same device and have different books or leave off in different places, or in the same book? And the answer is no, because iOS has always been geared towards a single user. It's you. It's not you and your wife, or you and your son, or you and your daughter, or whatever. It's just you. I, especially for the iPad, I just always felt that Apple should at least have, if nothing else, a guest user. So if I want to hand my iPad to somebody to do stuff with, the minute you hand it to them, they can start tapping around on anything they want and get into your email, get into your calendar, get into your contacts, whatever. So I'd love to just be able to tap guest mode and hand it to someone that can run the apps but not see my personal data. And so until we get users on iOS, it's still one user per device. All right, so the book's downloaded. I can open it now. It opens up, and it did remember exactly where I left off, because I highlighted this last night on my other Mac, or my other user account. So if you highlight text, you can do that. It'll pop up and let you highlight it in whatever color you want, as well as you can highlight and add a note. So you can say, this is the best tip ever. Okay, whatever that tip is. And it'll have a little note there so for the next time. So now if I go pull up that same book on any of my other devices, after it takes iCloud a few seconds to sync it, that will be, that note, the highlighting and everything else and where I left off will be on that device as well. You can turn pages. You don't get the little page curl though, which I was sadly disappointed that you don't get that. But turn pages, away you go. Now there's a tip that I was going to show you. Actually, I can still tell you about it. I just don't want to take the time to download a second book. So right now, the minute I open up that book, you notice that the list of books went away because I'm already reading a book. And of course, you can even go full screen on that book as well. So it takes over your full screen. You can arrow through the pages. Now, if you want, by clicking the full screen icon in the upper right-hand corner. That's full screen in any app, but any app that supports full screen now. But you'll notice that the rest of the listing went away. Well, if you hit Command, here's your tip, you hit Command L, you can bring it back. And once you bring it back, then you could, in theory, let's see if there's anything shorter I can download. This might be short. You would be able to basically open up another book. That's basically the tip, is that you can have more than one book open at a time. So that one would stay open in the background while this one's downloading. If that one were downloaded, I'd double click and open it, but I'm not going to wait for it. Next. Yes, these are Epubs in a sense. So I don't have any here, but yeah, I can put my own Epubs in here and open them. Yes.
When it was in the bookstore in iTunes, you could add up on that. If you want to get info.
Mm-hmm.
You can't if you never got it in iTunes.
Okay.
The way around that is to use Caliber.
To use what?
Caliber.
Caliber?
And that one allows you to and then bring it back. Fill out and go.
Okay. Not that I'm aware of, but I don't spend a lot of time with the books, unfortunately. So if it can be done, it's just I don't know if you can do it or not. I'm looking for a specific folder that I can't see. No, that's what I was looking for to show you. You can only, it's the only bookstore that you can buy books from, but you can read other Epubs, which is what I was looking for here. Let's see if I've got one. Nope, I don't have one there, so I'll go get it from the other place. So what I'm looking for is I have a few Epubs on here somewhere. I'm just going to go ahead and find you one. So I just drug my own personal Epub in here that I created. So you can use Ibooks, and that one will sync across my other device as well. So that was created in InDesign, saved as an Epub, drug right into Ibooks, and away I go. And I can email that to you, and you can open it up in your iBooks, because it's not copy protected or digital rights managed. So that was multiple books open, and the ability to drag in your own Epubs. And while we're at it, let's see if I've got one here. Oops, go back. Your own PDFs as well. So PDFs, Epubs, iBooks is what the iBooks app will let you do. Well, that's all books. I can do collections and just look at PDFs, or just look at books, or just look at purchase things. So your choice. Authors, books by Scott Kelby and Terry White. Categories, computers, fiction, uncategorized, and list. And by the way, if you're, never mind, that tip doesn't work here. Never mind. Okay, that's iBooks. And I guess that kind of makes sense, because some people may just have a Mac and they just want to still be able to read books. They don't have an iPad or a mobile device to do it with. All right, next one. I said there were two. That's one of them. The second one is Maps. Now, Apple has not had a great start with its Maps app on iOS. But I, every now and then, use it just to see what it will do. And I will say that in iOS 7, it has gotten usable. Because prior to iOS 7, to me, it wasn't even usable. But at least now it's usable. Like I've given it short things to take me routes on, and that I already knew how to get there, and it's done okay so far. Whereas before, in iOS 6, I would give it a short route to go on, and it would be like taking me 10 miles out of my way, and it's like, what? Yeah. So it's gotten better, and now it's on the Mac. So we can, for good or bad. So we can go to the Maps app, which automatically installs and puts itself on the dock when you're in Mavericks. And it's loading the internet map here, and it's already found our location. But when that map comes in, it'll show where we are. Now, again, this is internet speed. This is not the Maps app itself. It's usually pretty quick. Yeah. So it found us. I can go hybrid and see kind of a satellite view as well as a mapping view. I can zoom in. Now, here's the thing that I thought was pretty cool, because I was looking for the zoom thing, which is down here, and that's what I'm used to. But of course, in traditional Apple sense, I'm using the trackpad now, and I'm just pinching, or pinching outward. And I can rotate as well. It's at the bottom right. Oh, yeah. All right, and again, quality will improve. It's just downloading the higher res stuff as we pinch and zoom. And again, that's not Maps' fault. It's just the fault of the slower connection. Okay, so first of all, Maps is here. What does that really mean? We can change views, which I've already done. We've gone from standard highlight to, hybrid, which is a combination of showing me the street names and the satellite versus just satellite, which wouldn't show me the street names. You can do directions. So if I say, give me a search for, let's see, the Afterglow is at Shields Pizza. So I just start typing Shields, and it will find businesses nearby, or look in my address book, or find Shields everywhere it can. And when I tell it to search for that, it jumps over to that location, puts a pinpoint down, shows me where it is, Shows me more info on it, which is kind of cool. Ties into the Yelp reviews. Shows me cool things about that as well. I can get driving directions if I want, add it to my contacts if I want, or add a bookmark to it so it will show up in my bookmarks here in the Maps app if I'm constantly going to several locations without having to search for them over and over again. I can share it with others. So if I can do share, I can say, hey, here's where we're going, email, messages, airdrop, Twitter, Facebook, add to contents or contacts, or add a bookmark. So lots of ways to deal with the info that it gives you. I can go look at the reviews about the location I just found. I can go look at photos if there are any about the location I just found. Now, if I say get directions, it will always pick my current location, and then it will give me directions to it. Now, this is a pretty cool thing that it can do. It can also, cancel this. You can share that direction. Oh, that's right, I'm not signed in with this in my other devices. But if you're signed in with the same Apple ID, which I'm not, as you are on your mobile devices, one of the share options will be share it to your iPhone, share it to your iPad, share it to your iPod Touch. And it will actually send it over as a notification for you to then just tap on and get the directions right in Maps on that device that you're going to be carrying with you, especially if you're not carrying your desktop with you or your laptop. I'm just trying to see if I had one. I did test this yesterday, see if I had one left over. So here's my phone, and if I bring down my notifications from yesterday, at the very top there's directions to MacGroup. So if I tap that, that's one that I sent from my phone from work to get on how to get there. So it now shows up as a direction for, looks like where I am right now, because I'm already here. But had it not, it would have given me directions from work to get here right on my phone so I can navigate. So that's the sharing feature from either you to other people or you to your own devices. All right, let's get out of that. Next up, oh, actually one more. So there's another option here. You go to view, you can actually show traffic. And that will show you traffic conditions based on color, which of course it's Sunday, so traffic's not going to be that bad. But the roads would turn from green to yellow to red, depending on the amount of traffic on them. What else? Did that, and did that. So the other thing that Apple has touted with Maps since day one is the flyover view. So let's say we do Golden Gate Bridge. Search for that. Of course, it takes us out to San Francisco and finds it. And once the imagery comes in, we can turn on this little icon in the upper left-hand corner. Looks like 3D buildings. That's the flyover view. And it kind of puts the plane down to where you're going to fly over it. So if we pinch and zoom in, we can fly over the bridge this way, or turn it. And we can see more of the actual structure itself that Apple is kind of 3D modeling on the fly here. That's the best way to put it. So I can move this around and continuing to turn my way around the bridge. Now, the 3D flyover view of course isn't available on all the locations. It's really just the top landmarks that have it right now, or major cities. And as you would expect, it's in California. That's where Apple's based. But usually, like I said, if it's a big landmark or a well-known place, then more than likely it will have the flyover data. If it's not a well-known place, when you go to flyover, your buildings just won't be in, they just won't look as 3D-ish as they do now.
It would be interesting to see Mavericks beach, the actual beach that Mavericks is named after.
Okay, let's
Wouldn't
see.
that be embarrassing for Apple?
Wouldn't be the first time they were embarrassed with Maps.
On the last image that last screen we had up, you were talking about road industrial
Yeah.
and yellow red. What is the algorithm or criteria that's used to determine whether it's green, yellow, or red?
I don't know. So his question was, on the traffic, how does Apple determine, or any other map like Google or whatever, what's bad traffic to be yellow versus red or green? And I would imagine it's the amount of time to make that passage, but I don't know what they use as the rule. Yeah, Mavericks Beach looks like they did it. So. Right. But the point is, what criteria does yellow versus red? That I don't know.
Worldwide.
This is worldwide.
So you can go to Orient Beach and St. Martin.
Let's go the rest of the meeting, just leave quiet.
Orient?
I believe so.
Nope. Orient Beach. That's not the one. Oh, I'm searching the wrong place too. Orient. All right. I don't know where Orient Beach is, but how about user pyramids? So once that data appears, you should see something that looks like pyramids, hopefully. And there they are. Yes, you get audible turn-by-turn instructions. So here are the pyramids in Egypt. Yes, it is global. All right. Yes?
When you're using, say you're on a trip, you want to use, what services are you using? Using my Verizon,
It is using data.
using data.
Right. So the same service as your email and your web surfing and everything else.
You want to turn it on and drive it forward.
It depends on how much data you have.
This is very little data. I've spent a lot of time driving around.
Yeah, I mean, my recommendation, if you're going to use it to drive across country, is to get one of the mapping apps that actually downloads the maps to your device, like Navigon. That's the one I use. Because then it's using like very, 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 very little data, if at all, because everything's on the device already. So if it's a cross-country thing and it's going to be, you're going to be wanting to use it the whole way and you're worried about data use, then don't use data. Get one that has maps already on the device itself.
And it's more than just data use. You might drive to places where you don't have it.
That too.
So if you're going to drive around cross country, you really need Navigon.
Okay, that's maps. Next one, and this is one I use all the time, so I was happy to see these improvements. Calendar. How many of you use the calendar? Yeah, quite a bit, right? So the calendar, first of all, the cool thing I like about it is first of all, you notice that there's a red bar over the current week when you're a month view. It's kind of nice to just zero in where you are. The next thing is, although you can still jump from month to month like you always did, it's now also a scrollable view. So if I just scroll down, I'm scrolling down month by month. Right, and yeah, if you need to go in between, you can just go in between 2 months. So I kind of like that continuous scrolling view of the month data. The other thing is you'll notice that the leather / all those crazy looks around the apps are gone. It's just now a nice clean interface. I'm finding that I'm using week view more than I ever did before because of just it's nicer to navigate in than it used to be and cleaner. But as far as other things that have changed besides the interface, let's go back a little bit here. And let's say that I want to put an event on, here we'll go to this week. Let's say I want to put an event on the 20th. Of course I can drag, I can click the plus sign, I can hit keyboard shortcuts, lots of ways to do it. Apple has also made this a very intelligent text field. So if I wanted to say, well, it's already got an example, movies there at 7 p.m., but let's say I wanted to say movies, 8 p.m. on 11/20. It's smart enough to know what that means. So when I hit return, it just automatically pops that in on 11/20 at 8 p.m. with the title movies. So I didn't have to put it in a specific order. I didn't have to put the time first, then the day. It knows to figure out pretty much whatever you're typing into that box. Now, that's not new. What's new is that when you add a location now, which you could before, but when you add a location, okay, so if you have the address of where you're going, and you put that into the location, it will verify it. Then once you put that in, it'll put a map in. And you can even add, and it'll grab the weather for it. And you can add for the time, travel time. So it'll take me 20 minutes to get there from where I am right now, if this is where I was going to leave from. If you don't want to put it in from where you are, you can just specify a travel time, and it will add that to the appointment. Because typically when you put your calendar down and you say you have a meeting at 1 o'clock and the meeting's across town, you usually want to block the time, not of just the meeting, but the time it's going to take you to get there, or if you're unavailable during that time. So it's nice to have travel time added onto this. And it's also nice to have the map. So when this appointment shows up on my iOS devices, I won't have the map in the notes, but what I will have is a tappable address. So when I tap the address, it will then offer to put it into maps and navigate to that location for me. So now I'm definitely putting the addresses in my appointments now, if for no other reason, just to be able to quickly refer to them, but also navigate to them if I'm out of town or going somewhere that I haven't been before. So maps in your appointments, travel time in your appointments, weather in your appointments. You did that. You did that. You did that. All right. Any other, one more thing. I knew there was something else. Calendar also now, which is new in Mavericks. If you go to your accounts, of course, it will have your iCloud account if you're set up on iCloud. You can add an Exchange calendar or any other calendar from multiple services. What's new in Mavericks is the ability to also add your Facebook calendar. So Facebook events, all those things you're constantly invited to, if you actually do say you're going, you can now have those appear on your calendar. So that's another new Mavericks calendar feature, which I do not use.
Figure out the movies and entertainment.
No, not smart enough to do that. Usually calendar appointments will go on your default calendar unless you move it to a different calendar. So if I now get info on that, I can now switch it to a different calendar. But it will go on to your default, whatever you defaulted your calendar to by default. And yes, you can still invite others to your calendar appointment. So if I type in someone's email address or their name, they will get the calendar invite with all this information added to it as well. And yes, you can still set a reminder. So if you want to be reminded of it, you can set up an alert to remind you at a specific time. I love the when I need to leave. Because again, it's based on travel time, so it will just pop up and say, hey, you need to leave now. Yes?
I'm going to ask you the same question, but in a different, see what this route, different path.
Okay. Probably going to get the same answer, but let's try it.
As far as the maps are concerned, you've got to leave in 5 minutes because the route is going to take you so long. Is that cognizant of the time of day and the road conditions?
To answer your question, usually, but I don't know if this is integrated into it from the calendar standpoint. But usually that's what it means. Because I have another app that that I think I showed it here when I was doing the iOS tips. It was, it's called, no, it's about going to pick someone up from the airport. It's called, Just Land It. So Just Land It, you put in the flight information. So let's say the flight lands at 7 p.m. tonight at Metro. Based on where you are, that's how, and the traffic conditions and the route that it's suggesting you're going to get there with, that's how it tells you when to leave. Yeah, so Just Land It works that way. Okay, but that's a different app. That's not this. Safari has visually changed quite a bit. Now your top sites are separated by this sidebar. So you'll have your favorite sidebar, your reading list, and your shared links, your bookmarks as well. And I never knew this was a restriction because I don't use Safari, and I definitely don't use the top sites enough to know. But apparently you couldn't rearrange these, I guess, in previous versions of macOS. And now you can. You can pick these up and drag them around. I never had that be a problem because I was never doing that, but you can now. Just drag them around. You don't have to press anything. Okay, so top sites can be rearranged. The sidebar can be turned on and off with a Command-Shift-L. So if you don't want the sidebar, want it, you can show it or hide it. Nope, that's actually something different. If you're signed into your Twitter account via the system preferences, you will have access to a feature called Shared Links. And this item will aggregate all your recent links from Twitter and allow you to click to retweet them. So it's kind of a stretch because I can't ever think when I would need to do all that, but it's a feature. What else? The big one here is going to be password, well, the whole password generation feature. So when we go into System Preferences and we go into iCloud, one of your iCloud choices will be, it's update loading. Yes, I agree, even though I didn't read it. One of your choices will be now to sync your keychain to iCloud. If you tell it to sync your keychain to iCloud, any passwords that you generate and or save from any of Apple's applications like Safari, or Safari on your iPad, iPhone, iPod Touch, those passwords will now be synced to the other devices. So if you, for example, let's say you created an account, which we're going to go take a look at on CNN.com, and you put in a password. Well, obviously your Mac knows what that password is, but the problem had always been if you went to go log into that site on your iPad or your other device, you wouldn't know what that password was unless you were using a password app. So now, because of the syncing of Keychain, that data is now automatically appearing on all your devices. And when I say appearing, meaning when you go to put the password in, it will fill it in for you. So for example, let's say we head over to CNN.com, because I was just there the other day and I noticed that they have a login screen that works perfectly for this. I don't have an account yet on CNN, so let's say I want to sign up for one. So when I click sign up, if I wait for the page to load, hang on, let the page load first.
Will you be doing this in lieu of iPassword? In one password?
I will not be changing it from 1Password now. 1Password does too many more things. You guys said it was fast. You lied. Oh, here we go. Okay. So let's say I want to sign up for an account. Yeah, sure, use the USD. So when I click sign up, of course it asks me for a screen name and an email address and a password. So the password, it says, in this case, can be 6 to 10 characters. What have I been harping on about passwords for the last year? What have I been telling you to do?
Make them all the same.
Don't even joke about that. Don't make them all the same.
Password should be password.
Make them unique. Don't make them easily guessable. Use a password manager so you don't have to worry about all that. And of course, I've always talked about 1Password. I still prefer 1Password, but at least now you have something for those that don't want to go buy 1Password. At least now you've got something built in. So if I were to go create all of these things, which I'm not going to, the minute I click down in the password,